Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfucking Your CX. I am so excited about today's hot seat. We got Nate Brown.
What's up?
Nate and I think, have been running in the same circles of CX, but we have never formally have met.
It's about
So,
time.
Nate, one, welcome to the hot seat, brother. Glad you're here.
So excited to be on unfoobarring your CX. Is that okay? Can
It's
I make foobarring my F word?
It's so funny, like, everyone depending on who I talk to, some will say it, some won't say it. So, it's always fun. I'm so glad to have you on. You came recommended, by the way. When I did a LinkedIn post that said, "Hey, this is my vision. This is what I'm thinking about
Yeah.
doing," you were someone that got tagged in there. Everyone just loves your expertise in the industry. Two, you are just full of energy, which is why everyone is so excited. But I'm curious, the first question I like to start off with is, where are we having this? Are we going to unfuck a topic over a beer at a pub? Are we going to be in a coffee shop? Where are we at, my friend?
We are at Bishop's Meat and Three in Franklin, Tennessee, which has the best hot chicken anywhere in Nashville. And we're having a sweet tea together, Zach, and it's a great Tuesday.
Oh my gosh, dude. I That makes my mouth water because I love sweet tea.
Mm,
When we lived in the South for about 10 years in Atlanta, I fell in love with, I call it, the extra sweet tea. You know what I'm talking
baby.
about?
So good.
But I actually gave up sugar for Lent. So I've gone now
Wow.
without sweet tea, and I
Love
said
it.
I cannot wait until Sunday when I can have a Milo sweet tea.
Oh, that'll be a glorious day. I'm excited for you.
So what kind of chicken though do you get? Like, what is your go-to order?
The jumbo chicken tenders, which truly are jumbo, when you do it at Bishop's, which is the B in Hattie B's. So if you go to one of these recent Hattie B chains, like in Assembly Food Hall by Bridgestone, like you're gonna get these little chicken tenders, Princes. You're not gonna, if you go to Bishop's in Franklin, Tennessee, you get the fatties. They're so good, and you got to get the carrot souffle and the green beans.
All right, the next time we do this,
We're
because
doing this together.
sure you'll come back. I will be live with you in Bishops. But man, that sounds so good. So shout out to Bishops.
Mhm.
That's one that I'll have to
Doing
get
it
on my
right.
list. Nate, you have been around this industry. You are seen as, a CX. I don't like to use the term thought leader or expert because we're always crafting,
Yes.
where we are, and we're always evolving. But you are someone who I should say is very trusted in the industry.
Thank you.
And so, what I'm really curious is, you've seen everything too, I'm sure,
Seen
right?
many things. Yes.
What is just one topic that every time you hear it or you're working with a client and you see it, it just makes you cringe, that you want to unfoobar or
Yeah.
unfuck today?
Yeah. It's such a great question. I think it's this idea of trying to save CX. Like we're trying to save something that's been dead for so long. Like let it die, Zach. Just let it perish and let's rebuild something out of the ashes. Like the glorious phoenix of Harry Potter. Let's make something new and better. You know, people that are holding on to the legacy artifacts of this work are holding us back at this point. Like we need to bury it and move forward into what this next era of whatever we're going to call CX is. It's time to start moving there quickly. We got to do it. If we're going to make the leap, we got to make the leap quick, Zach.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I've been asked this question a couple times, and quite frankly, that's the whole reason why I started Unfucking Your CX newsletter
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
September. Was I just got tired of scrolling LinkedIn and seeing the exact same topic over and over and over, and what are we going to do about it? And it's like, I'm with you. Traditional experience management is dead. It's been failing organizations for years because it's very waterfall, and organizations are very lean, they're very agile, they got to move quick. I'm curious, in your mind, why do you think this is traditional experience management's falling so hard, but also so slow?
Great question. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I do love the Forrester definition. If we think about CX as the culminating impact of all these different touch points throughout the whole customer journey, and it's the thoughts and perceptions that customers have of us as a brand, and we're trying to earn loyalty. But yet the scope of control that most CX leaders have is here. It's this little tiny box that we've been shoved in with almost no money, almost no influence, and it's this failing prospect from the beginning for most CX leaders. So it's the idea of, if we're going to move forward here with something bigger and better than traditional experience management, then we've got to have a scope of control that's much larger. So what I love right now, Zach, is how blurred the lines are getting between customer service and everything else. Like, I was at Frost and Sullivan last week. I was at the Gladly conference recently. Like, I feel like retail is leading the way here, where the lines are being blurred. You've got this entry point where the customer is coming in to unexperience. Let's just pretend we're Crate and Barrel and there was a vase that is broken. And their whole purpose, their whole thing, the way they're trying to guide customers to success is to make beautiful living spaces. So, like, that's what's in the mind of their customer service people. All right, so your vase is broken. The automated element of this has already taken care of that. Like, they've already shipped a new one. Like, but now, like, we're seeing an opportunity for the human agent to jump on and be like, "Hey, where were you putting that vase? What's inside of it? Is that on a bookshelf? Like, let's take a look at your living room together. Like, how can we make this living space even more beautiful?" It's not about replacing the vase. It's about accomplishing the mission, which is to create these beautiful living spaces. And the service professional is equipped to have this really strategic, really proactive guidance type of conversation. So that's no longer customer service. It's no longer traditional sales. It's something new. It's something better. It's almost kind of like customer success, but morphing that out of the SaaS space and sticking it into any type of business.
Yeah, you know what I love about that is, if you really think about, like, in the SaaS world of it, it's really around kind of that user adoption, right? How well are we leveraging this
Yeah.
technology that we just invested in? And then ultimately, what's the business value that we're getting from it, right? As an organization. Now, you put that in the crate and barrel piece. If you think about user adoption, to your point, it is, how well have I been able to incorporate whatever this is that I've purchased into my own living space, that I am now getting value from it. And value may not be in dollars and cents, right? Maybe it is, because it's a cherished piece for over time.
Mhm.
But it's the value of, now I'm having human to human connection with a family member that maybe I haven't had in a really, really long time. And that is creating those moments. Other things. But I think the one thing that just kind of resonated, though, to me was when you said, hey, ultimately loyalty. But I also feel like the definition of loyalty has been fucked, because a
How
lot
so?
of retailers look at it as, are you a member of our loyalty program? Right?
We should
Because we got to
out of the
measure
way.
that. If we
Those
don't
are
measure it,
learned.
it doesn't matter. And
Yeah.
so what I'm curious is,
Hmm.
what's your definition of loyalty?
Okay. This is indeed a hot seat, Zach, and I
Yes.
like that. Let me interject, though. I've been fascinated by recent research on how much these loyalty programs on mobile apps are actually working in terms of share of wallet and customer retention. It's bonkers to me, like, how much that's resonating with this generation of customers. But I mean, I would really define loyalty as, like, I'm going to utilize you as a trusted partner whenever it makes sense for me to do so. I'm going to continue to expand my partnership with you, and I'm going to bring others with me into that journey as well. My friends and family members. I am going to, as for me and my house, we're gonna crate and barrel. Like, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
that's loyalty in my mind.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's like, hey, we're going to reshop with you, right? Whenever so it's ultimately customer lifetime value, which is what I actually think. And you've probably seen it. Just look, I've spent over 20 years in retail now, right? The the North Star of any experience strategy should be customer lifetime value, not NPS, right? Which I think goes to the topic that you want to food bars, like, let this die over here.
Yeah, yeah.
So for our listeners, letting traditional experience management die is really, really hard for them because ultimately it's the only thing that they grew up with. Maybe they just joined an organization where their organization has invested 7, 8, 9, 10 years into this specific tech stack. Now they've inherited this CX program, if we want to call it that. Just what it is.
Danger, but yeah.
It's not true, but that's what we consider it. And so you don't really want to upset the apple cart because of that fear of messing up.
Yeah.
So let's get to the 3 player tips. What's player tip number 1? Where if I have this and I'm with you in the belief system where I gotta let this die, how do I do it? What's your first player tip?
Yeah. It's utilizing intrinsic motivation with our people.
Mm,
So I view the workplace as a community, Zach. I mean, we're trying to create a compelling community where we're serving a specific purpose better than anybody else in the world, and we're attracting the right people to us. It's almost like, think of a key that you're unlocking a door, and inscribed in that key are specific attributes of people that belong inside of that organization. That's the only way to open the front door. You think this way. You love this. You care about this. And then we let you in the front door. And now all of a sudden you get to act intrinsically as an ambassador for that organization. But I love Prime to Perform, as they talk about what leads to meaningful work, loyalty inside of the organization. It's purpose, it's potential, and it's play. It's a sense of curiosity and excitement about the work. So let's make it great. Let's make it compelling. Let's make it really clear how the stuff that we're doing is impacting customers in a really specific way. Like, we are accomplishing the mission. But so often our voice of customer programs devolve into, oh, look at this friction point, and this isn't as good as it should be, and we messed up here, and Joe made a mistake over here. Like, come on, folks. Like, that should be like 20% of how we think of VOC. Whereas VOC really should be an everyday vehicle for showing the impact, showing the outcome
yeah.
of great customer interactions.
Yeah. I think you're spot on there. I think there's twofold, right? One, which I've experienced is we have our brand promise and it's a sticker on the wall. And it doesn't matter. Every employee, team member, anyone in the community of this specific organization walks
Yeah.
by and they just laugh at this because they know it is just FUBAR that their executives are saying. I think the other piece of it too is, to your point, it's been used as a negative performance system
Yes.
versus really showcasing, here's all the positive, you know, here's the positive impact we've been making in the lives of our customers. And I think part of that is, though, CX professionals do not know how to create those specific headlines.
Right. Right. Good point.
Like those are noteworthy headlines
Yeah.
that they have to have a skill set to be able to do it. And so a lot of CX practitioners want to do it on correlation and not causation, and they get laughed out of the room. And so I'm curious, as you think about this intrinsic motivation and
Yeah.
how you're really thinking about this, how can CX leaders create more headlines that are intrinsically motivating?
Yeah, and I had an amazing opportunity to be a consultant inside of the player space, the gaming space, for a top 5 gaming organization. And we developed a strong correlation between serving customers, players really well, like that customer service interaction, and what that did to future player behavior, like 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, in terms of the share of wallet, time spent in the game, overall just engagement as a player. Because engaged players spend more money and they pull other players in, and it adds to the community of the game greatly. So if we had an excellent customer service interaction, it led to all these significant outcomes that drove the business forward, versus a very remedial transactional customer service interaction would shut it down. It would cause a player to disengage and slowly walk away from the game and find alternatives.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's implications to that type of levers, in anything that you're doing. It's like, what is the impact of a great experience? How can we trace that over to renewal, retention, loyalty, share of wallet, whatever those things look like? But ultimately, these behaviors we're trying to create inside of our customers, how can we very strategically move them in that direction, guide them to success, further our partnership with them? There are dots to connect. We just have to be really smart about how we do it. And we got to do it in the data. But as you're saying, Zach, we also have to get really good at making an exciting narrative about this stuff.
Yeah.
Look at the impact we're having.
Look, for everyone listening, Nate just had a mic drop moment. He was talking about creating intrinsic motivation and tying the gamer behavior based off the experience created. Note that he did not say, how did it impact their net promoter score or their CSAT score? It was, did we increase more gaming experiences? So what's the time to their next gaming experience? Did we decrease that because they've had such a great experience? Did we get more of their gambling, gaming share of wallet?
Use the dirty word.
Sorry, that was a dirty word. So loved that. I absolutely loved that, where it was all about connecting it to financial outcomes of the business because that's what's important to them. And that's how you create intrinsic motivation. Nate, what's player tip number 2?
So I've been introducing this phrase of servant challenger. And I think that the more that we as CX leaders can awaken this what I've been calling a servant challenger mentality, the more that we can really unfoobar some things and cause some folks to come alive. So let me explain very, very quickly what I mean by that. We as service professionals are generally pretty good about serving other people and looking outside of ourselves, which is a gift, Zach, because that's hard for most people to put themselves and their own needs aside and focus on anybody else in the world in terms of how I can serve them and help them. We have that gift. So it's about motivating that, bringing out the servant leadership principles that are so compelling in terms of creating a community of people that have pride serving with one another, bringing out collective genius together where it's not about me and my legacy and my idea and my career and my paycheck. I'm going to lift up the people around me. And what does that look like? Being generous with knowledge curators. Like you want to talk about AI preparedness, like creating that culture of generous knowledge sharing with the centralized knowledge unit and with your peers. Like that idea of serving the organization and looking beyond myself is so critical. But then the number one thing that's holding us back, Zach, from doing good implementations of technology, from creating great experiences, it's the status quo. It's inertia. And we just get stuck. And we just wait on the fence, and we're not being aggressive and excited and to take initiative and create something really special. And that's inside of specific customer interactions and strategically as service leaders to guide our organization in terms of what experience design can and should look like right now. Like, don't wait for some executive in your organization to come around and tell you how CX should look next year. Like you get to dive in and help to dictate that and steer that and break that inertia as a challenger.
Yeah.
So you're serving and you're challenging in these specific ways.
I think that's so important, right? Because, and you're framing it up a little bit different than what I have framed it up, which I love kind of this service mentality around it, which is, I've said for so many years, just even going back to my time, for example, at Aaron's, I didn't have control of the CX. I didn't have control of budget. I didn't have control over prioritization for my cross-functional peers. I actually had to go influence them. I had to go sell them on why this customer friction was so important to their specific KPI or target that they have to achieve this year. And I had to essentially make them make the friction their own problem. Like it was their own idea. And I think that's what you're saying in terms of service of don't wait for your executive leader to say, this is what CX is going to look like for us next year, Nate, because our executive leaders don't understand it themselves. They don't get it. And so you have to go service it by influencing your organization on what should this look like.
Yeah, you're triggering something in my mind. So we asked an interesting question 2 days ago in CX Accelerator. We asked, if we didn't call this crap CX, what would you call it? And Jeremy Hyde had a really good one that speaks to exactly what you're saying, Zach. He said brand promise execution would be like his word for this thing we're trying to do. That's so good to me.
Yeah. Look, I think the other piece of this is I'll give a dirty word that CX folks hate that they don't want to be correlated with.
Well, let me try and guess what it is. Hold on. A dirty word that we don't want it to. IT?
No,
What?
we are sellers. We are, if you think about it, we are actually sellers of change within our
Yeah.
organization.
Okay.
And changing the ways in which we operate as an organization for so many years. I like your word service better than sell, but ultimately that is our job.
Yeah.
And that's why CX has been looked at as a program or a listening initiative because we haven't activated change within the organization based on
Good
the
word.
frictions that we are seeing.
Yeah.
And so it's our responsibility to sell through influence or through service and essentially build cross-functional champions who are willing to champion the change and get behind it. I love that. I love this kind of conversation, but we're at player tip number 3. What's the third player tip? To just let traditional experience management die. Lord, whoever you pray to, let this go
Go on.
rest in peace. What's the third player tip?
It's going to be trying to figure out the right word for it now. Gosh. Okay. It's slipping away from me. All right. It's make it really exciting. All right. So here's what it is. Here's what it is, Zach. You have to really actually care. You have to really, really care about this organization that you're trying to create great experiences for. If you don't, you're not going to sell anybody. You're not going to awaken or activate anybody. You're not going to be an effective change manager. If you over focus on whatever science of this work that you're trying to use to generate outcomes, if you're not embedded in terms of you have a role as the defender of the brand promise, the educator of the brand promise, the aligner back to the brand promise. I was reading Brandon Sanderson today, Wind and Truth, and there's a great quote in there talking about how every good sergeant knows how to keep the officers on track. And like as a CX leader, that's what you get to do for the executive team. Like you're reminding them, this is why we exist. Yes, we're going to make money, but how we do that, and we
Yeah.
know this is true, Zach, we know how to gain market share is by creating really good, consistent, trustworthy experiences. We know this. So how do we align executives to not just chase the quarterly shareholder number for the quarter, but to look at customers as long-term assets? Nordstrom.
Yep.
Recently, I heard about Nordstrom. They view their customers as multi-generational,
Yeah.
spanning decades.
It was the same at Aaron's, right? From a
It's
rent to
amazing.
own perspective, rent to own is generational.
Oh, it's so
And
good.
so ultimately, but here's the thing, this is where I differ.
Yeah.
I actually think it's okay for the executives to be focused on delivering shareholder value back, right? Because ultimately that's what they're
They
employed
have
to
to.
do,
They do have
right?
to do that.
And they are fighting quarter to quarter really just to keep their job. As the CX leader though, it is your job to connect the dots between VOC and business impact to our executives actually understand. And you don't do it through, shall I say, the NPS score or a CSAT score. You do it by saying, hey, look, Mr. or Mrs. Executive,
Yes.
here's your 3 to 5 most strategic goals this year, strategies, initiatives that's going to help us achieve the growth of this organization that
Yeah.
committed to the shareholders. Now, if I think about the top 8 to 10 frictions that actually have the most negative impact on the business today that's going to prevent you from achieving that, here are those experiences that our customers are having that need to be redesigned. And here's why you should assign ownership of these frictions, not sponsorship, and we should go work on it as an organization. And if we don't do it, if you don't prioritize these 8 to 10 customer frictions that are coming up in VOC, here's the cost of inaction.
which is very
which
real.
is you're going to struggle to achieve what you just promised. And you won't increase shareholder value. And two, you'll probably be out of a job. Now, you don't want to tell them they're going to be out of a job.
But
Let them
that's the
just go
truth.
there on their own. But I think that's what you're getting to is you have to care enough to do that.
It's really easy for us right now to lose our distinctiveness. You know, there's so many things being automated using basically the same engines. Like, so like, what are we going to use as our competitive differentiator? And we've got to view our customers like Nordstrom as a relationship that we get to grow and build over time. So in that example, they rolled back a major technology implementation because it wasn't quite resonating with their customers.
Yeah.
And they knew the impact of that. Now, did that have a negative impact on Q2 2025? Yes, it did. Did it earn the right for them to grow the business for years and years to come? Yes, it did. So there's some courageous decisions that have to be made, which might have some short-term pain, but you're earning the extended life of the business. You're earning partnership with your customers in years into the future. Those are the businesses that are going to actually earn loyalty.
Dude, you're so spot on there, right? And what just and we'll close it out. What was coming to my head though, as you were kind of talking and giving this Nordstrom is I get it, right? As defenders of the brand promise or the advocates of our customers, a lot of times we just want to show up and talk about emotional connection and I call it the stuff that's really important. I totally get it. Totally get it. And quite frankly, you can measure this is the emotion our customer is feeling after this specific experience or a culmination of all the experiences. And here's the impact of customer lifetime value by is it increasing, the number of visits, repeat visits in a year? Is it shortening the time to repeat purchase? Are they increasing their AOV? But as a practitioner, you have to put it in dollars and cents if you want your CEO to care.
Yep.
They speak P&L. They don't always speak emotions and customer.
Agreed.
You got it. I think it goes back to your point. You have to make it intrinsically motivating for the CEO to prioritize that friction.
Yeah. Yes. And helping them to see long-term customer value. You can't make all the money in this quarter.
Right. Spot on. Spot on. Nate, this has been an incredible conversation. We'd probably have to order another sweet tea, another round or a couple of them.
Yeah, and it's a big one, but we have to, yeah.
But many of our listeners know where to find you. But if there's some new listeners who haven't been exposed to Nate Brown, where can they find you?
Well, before I say that, I just got to brag on you, Zach. I've just been blown away by you and what you're doing in the space, talking about breaking inertia. You, man. Like, I'm just blown away by what you're doing. Love this show. Love the audience that you're cultivating. Thank you for the impact that you're having. You're a breath of fresh air for us. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Coming from someone like you, very humbling. So, look, let's do it again together. You're always welcome to come back to the hot seat. So, if you can think of a topic, dude, just grab the calendar and come on.
Done.
But where can our
Yeah. Hop on over to CX Accelerator. It's a nonprofit professional association that is just only about equipping CX professionals on every stage of their career journey. It's never going to cost you any money. We're never going to exacerbate you with spam. We're just trying to be helpful, and there's a lot of wonderful people in that space. So please connect with me there. And the other spot would be metricsherpa.com. If you want some analyst services and some cool stuff that we're doing to be the next generation analysts and be the independent voice in the CX space, I would love for you to visit us at Metric Sherpa.
Very cool. All right, Nate. I appreciate you, bud. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.